your own marketing person. Chasten is having Exhibit Equality on September 20th at Space on White, which is a performance space and an artistic space that she runs. And she's like 12, so I don't know how she's doing this and a Broadway show at the same time. Kind of hate her. But no, I love her. And she's going to have art exhibits about equality, talking about the march, video exhibitions, things that are going to be, go. Support her. Get people to go. My friend Kate Schindel, who you guys know, is Legally Blonde. She won American Miss America. She's going to run the New York City Marathon, and she's going to raise money for Broadway Impact and for the march. And you go to runschindelrun@gmail.com. Email her. I made that address for her this morning. It's like, we need an email address. So it's runschindelrun@gmail.com. Email her today. Tell her, what can I do? How can I help you? Okay? My friend Chelsea, who's in my conservative hometown of Findlay, Ohio, no one wants to talk about equality there. That's a lie. There are people there. I can't generalize for a town, right? She is in a play group. She has a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old. She's going to start an equality play group in Findlay, Ohio. Okay? She's thinking outside of the box. She's like, hey, I want to do an equality play group. I bet each one of you right now are going, I can think of this. I know somebody who owns a bar. My friend Adam, who's adopting a dog, I saw him at the dog park yesterday. He says, I know somebody with a bus that runs on vegetable oil. We could drive down, vegetable oil bus to, just get excited. Tell people about it. Think of ideas, right? Think outside of the box. If we don't send the message out and we don't go talk about it and we don't take this on, then guess what where we're gonna be? A bunch of complacent complainers. And I'm done being complacent and I'm done complaining. You want to get mad? I'm not really good about getting mad. I get mad when, I don't get mad that often. I get depressed. And I get excited. So get excited, get depressed, get mad, get whatever you need to do that's going to get your ass to DC on October 11th. Or someone else. If you can't go, find 10 people that can. Can I introduce to you the man who is taking the charge from David Mixner, am I correct? Who picked it up and said, all right, shit, let's do this. And I'm going to say this, that he's been met with, oh, come on, bring it on. Yeah, rain on us. He's been met with a lot of BS from our gay community that I'm going to stand here and say it's BS. Because you can choose to be like any one of these people. You can choose to be like our straight ally of the century, this man right here. And when you hear that a march is happening, you go, what can I do to help? And throw your hat in the ring, cancel a show, come and get your companies fired up, put your umbrellas up, do whatever you can do. Don't just say, I think it's gonna fail, and we're gonna look stupid, and only 10 people are gonna show up. Well, then you're the asshole that's not helping get 10 more people to come. So he's stand up and taking the responsibility and taking the charge, and this is the man who's organizing this march with his unbelievable team. Stand up and give this man a hand. This is a historic presence, Cleve Jones.
Showed up in the rain, an umbrella. I live out in the desert, and so rain is a treat for me. And I know some of you were expecting Emile Hirsch, so I hope you're not disappointed. How many of you saw Milk? Okay, but the most important thing I want you to remember from that film, the most important lesson to take away from that, is that I was that hot. I was, for like 8 weeks in the mid-70s, I was very hot. And I see many of you here who are young and very hot. Thank you. And, I remember when I was a little homosexual growing up in Arizona, and I thought to myself, well, I'm frightened. I'm very frightened. And the thing I was most frightened of was getting old. And then when I was 17 and I hitchhiked up to San Francisco, and yes, I met Harvey Milk, and I remember looking at the old queens with their pot bellies and their dyed hair and their jowls and their wrinkles and thinking, well, that doesn't look like that much fun. And I want you to know that I'm going to be 55 in October, and these have been the best years of my life. I've never been so happy. So those of you who are young and hot, enjoy it, because it doesn't last long, and soon you're going to look like this. But don't be frightened of getting old. It's just one of those big lies that they've been telling us all along. Now, I know it's raining, and I don't want to keep you here until you're drowned rats, but I need to talk to you seriously about why we're doing this march. Back in November, after the election and the film came out, I started receiving emails, hundreds, thousands of emails from all over the country, and many were from young people saying that they wanted a march on Washington, that their generation hadn't yet had the chance to experience that. And I said, I don't think it's a good idea. It's so expensive, it's so complicated, and I remember the previous marches, and I went to all of them, and, you know, honestly, organizing something like this is a freaking nightmare. But I just kept saying, no, we don't need that, we need to focus on the local work. Then January came, and who was at the inauguration giving the benediction? It was Rick Warren. And then the Speaker of the House, my friend, Nancy Pelosi, gave an interview to a gay newspaper in her district in San Francisco, saying that repealing DOMA, the Defense of Marriage Act, was not a priority. And I began to feel real fear and real grief because I believed so much in our President Obama. I campaigned for him. I went to Nevada. Dustin Lance Black and I went to Nevada to canvass and walk precincts for Obama. We chose to do that instead of staying home in California to fight against Prop 8. And we came back from Nevada and we began to celebrate the election of our new president, and then the word came in on Prop 8. But really, what's very important now is to not look back to 1978. Look back to 1963, when Dr. Martin Luther King and the great heroes of the civil rights movement understood that the southern states, and probably many others, would never willingly extend equal protection under the law to African American citizens. And so the struggle continued in Selma, in Birmingham, in Montgomery, but they set their sights on Washington. And they went to President Kennedy, and they went to President Johnson after Kennedy was assassinated, and they succeeded in passing the Civil Rights Act of 1964, guaranteeing equal protection under the law to African Americans across all these state borders. Now, we know the struggle against racism is nowhere near over, but the law of the land is clear. And that has been the basis for so many victories that have been achieved by people of color in this country. That is what we need today. Now, those who have followed the strategy of state by state, county by county, city by city, these are all good people who are pursuing a strategy for which there was no alternative. You know, back in the 70s when all of this started, there were only a few places, San Francisco, Madison, Ann Arbor, a few places where we could get fractions of equality, little tiny bits of protection. That is the past. And we will not accept it anymore. There is no such thing as a fraction of equality. Now, I know that the fight for marriage equality has been very galvanizing. And when I took this on with the march, many people said, well, how can you justify spending money on a march on Washington when we're fighting in California and Maine, and now the right-wingers are trying to overturn what happened in Iowa. We've got another fight brewing in Washington. In California right now, the big debate is, do we go back on the ballot in 2010 or 2012? But regardless, they're talking about spending tens of millions of dollars for a fight that will not give anyone any rights. Because in California, same-sex couples already enjoy all of the rights that the state government is capable of giving them. Now, let's just assume that your senators, your state senators, find the key to the office and figure out what party they belong to, and get their act together after Alan kicks their asses, and maybe they do the right thing, and maybe you'll win, finally, marriage equality in New York, but you will still be second-class citizens. Because the most important rights that are granted to heterosexual couples through marriage are those granted by the federal government. You can go to another country and fall in love and bring him or her back to this country. You have tax rights, and also the big ticket item, Social Security benefits.